Hey students, this is Alex from Mizo Education here. This lesson is on factorizing quadratic trinomials. So put on your set of headphones and let's zone in. Now, to orientate ourselves in the fundamentals of this, there are two different types of trinomials. The first being monic and the second being non-monic. Monic means one, where non-monic just means, well, not one. So, what does this one and not one actually refer to? We may have seen this come up quite a lot in our questions when studying at school. Something that looks like this: x squared plus 7x plus 12. Now, when we refer to something as monic, we're talking about this x squared group over here. If it's just x squared by itself, this is known as monic, or just 1, because you can imagine there is a 1 in front of this x squared. However, if there was a 5 in front of the x squared, this would be referred to as non-monic, because it's not 1 in front of the x squared. The difference between these two is important to understand, as the steps to factorize each of them are slightly different. Let's first start with monic trinomials and how to factorize them. Let's say we have x squared plus 6x plus 5. Now, the approach that we use to factorize any form of trinomials is known as PSF, which I'll put off here to the side. So P, S, and F. P stands for product. And what's your product going to be? It's going to be this last number, or the constant in your expression. So in this case, your P is going to be 5. Next is S. S stands for sum. And sum is going to be this middle number that's associated with just the x raised to the power of 1 over here. So in this case, it's going to be 6. And what are the factors? Now, the factors are the two numbers that will multiply to give me 5, or give a product of 5, and will add or give me a sum of 6. And the goal is to find those two numbers, as they will make up the factors. Now, the best way to do this is, if you're stuck, go ahead and write down all the different possibilities that can give you a product of 5. So off to the side, I would go something like 1 times 5 gives me 5. Is there anything else that gives me a product of 5 that is a whole number? No. So I would leave it there. And then what I would do is I would test these two numbers, 1 and plus 5, to see if they add together or sum to give me 6. And let's have a go. 1 plus 5 does indeed give you 6. So these two numbers, 1 and 5, are your factors, and you'll put them down like this. Now, once you find your factors, there are two different approaches you can use depending on how many marks are attributed to this question. If it's a high amount of marks, you would want to show maximum amount of working, which we'll go through. And if it's not that many marks, there's a way quicker method to use to get to the answer straight away. Let's start with the long version. The long version is, if you see these factors here, plus 1 and plus 5, we substitute or put this in and replace it with this 6x. So what this would look like, I'll do it off to the side over here. It would look like x squared plus, and then you would go 1x, or which is just x, plus 5x, which is the other factor, and then plus 5. From here, you would want to split this in half, kind of imagine an imaginary line going down the middle of this. And what you would want to do is now factorize these two groups individually. So let's have a go at factorizing this. X squared plus x. If we were to factorize this, we get x on the outside, and in the bracket we have x plus 1. That's our first group over here. In the second group, we can factor out a 5, and in the bracket we have x plus 1. Now notice, we have an x plus 1 repeating in both of these groups, and this is the goal. This is what we want, because when you have this repeating group, you can actually take this out as a factor. So what it would look like, you would have x plus 1 as a factor on its own, and whatever's remaining, in this case x and plus 5, become another bracket. Like that. And that is the full long method of factorizing monic trinomials. However, let's go through the quick step as well. The quick step goes like this. If you know what your factors are, in this case plus 1 and plus 5, you can draw up your two brackets like this. You would have x in one and x in the other, and whatever your two factors are, you can insert them next to the x. So it would look like this. This is a plus 1, so you would put in plus 1 in your first bracket. You have another factor of plus 5, so you would put in plus 5 in the second bracket. And that is the quick method. Now let's do one more at a quicker pace. Let's say we have x squared minus 7x plus 12. So let's go through our PSF. What is our product? It's going to be this last term over here. So I'm going to put in 12. What's my sum? Now be careful, we have a minus over here. So this is going to be minus 7. And that's what our sum is going to be. And the goal is to find our two numbers or two factors that give me a product or multiply to give me 12. And those two same numbers should give me a sum or add to give me minus 7. So let's go through the different ways in which we can get a product of 12. So I have 1 times 12. I have 2 times 6. I have 3 times 4. And let's see, do I have anything else? No. So I would leave it there. Now, do any of these by themselves give me a sum or add to give me a negative number? We can see all of these are positive, and if I was to add them together, I would get a positive answer. However, we didn't also keep in mind that if we have two negatives, they will multiply or give me a product of a positive, and they will give me a sum of a negative. So let's go ahead and let's put some negatives with these. If I was to put a negative for both of these numbers, so 3 and 4, so let's say we have minus 3 times minus 4, and I have minus 3 plus minus 4, just basically meaning minus 3 minus 4, we can see I get a product of 12, a positive 12, and I do get a sum of minus 7. So these are the two factors that we have, minus 3 and minus 4. And that's what I'm going to put over here. And now, because we're doing the quick method, let's do this as quick as possible. So I'm going to have x in one bracket, x in the other bracket. What are my two factors? Minus 3 and minus 4. And that's what I'm going to put, minus 3 and minus 4. And that is that factorized. All right, now moving on to non-monic. These ones are slightly different. So let's say we have 6x squared plus 19x plus 10. Now, again, we're going to do PSF, but your product this time is not going to be just 10. Whenever we're dealing with non-monics, or when there is a number besides 1 in front of the x squared, this number has to multiply with this last number, or the constant, to give us our product. So our product will be 6 multiplied by 10, giving us 60. And our sum is going to be same, this middle number over here, which is 19. Now again, same process, we're going to go through the different combinations that will give us a product of 60, and we'll see what we can get as a sum of 19. So we have 1 times 60, we have 2 times 30, we have 3 times 20, we have 4 times 15, and I'm going to stop there because I do see this one looks like a good fit. But let's just double check. 4 plus 15, so using the two factors of 4 and 15, do they work to give us a sum of 19? Yes, they do. So we can see that our two factors will be 4 and 15. Now, with these questions, it's not as easy as going into our brackets and straight away putting in the factors. For this one, we need to use that long method approach to get the questions right. So let's have a go at doing that. We're going to put in 6x squared, and we're going to replace this 19x with the two factors that we have over here. So we'll go plus 4x plus 15x, and we can see 4x plus 15x will give you 19. So that's working out well. And then let's finish off with the 10 over here. All right, now same method, we're going to split this down the center, and we're going to factorize these two groups individually. Let's have a go at doing that. Starting with this first group over here, we can factor out a 2 and an x, and inside the bracket, we will have 3x plus 2. That's our first group done. Let's have a look at this second group over here. We can factor out a 5. Can we factor out anything else? No. So we're going to open our bracket. We'll have 3x plus 2. And this is good because we can see we have this repeating group over here. When we have this repeating group, we can factor that out as its own factor, so 3x plus 2. And whatever's remaining can become in its own bracket. So this 2x and plus 5 will go into another bracket. 2x plus 5. And that will be the final answer. Let's do one more non-monic question. Let's say we have 9x squared plus 6x minus 8. All right, let's first find our product. Our product, because it's non-monic, we have to multiply this minus 8 with this 9. That will give us minus 72. Let's now have a look at our sum. The sum is just going to be the same, this middle number over here, plus 6. Okay, now let's have a go and see what different combinations can I use to get me a product of minus 72 and a sum of plus 6. Now, I know that 6 times 12 will give me a plus 72, but I want a minus 72. So one of these numbers have to be a minus in order for me to get a minus 72. But I need to also keep in mind that my sum here is positive. So that means whatever number is going to be a negative, it has to be the smaller number. And let's just double check this. If I did minus 6 times 12, and I use these same factors, minus 6 plus 12, you can see here that a minus 6 plus 12 will give me positive 6, and it will also give me minus 72. So these are the two factors that I'll use, minus 6 and positive 12. Again, now we need to use the long method, so let's put this into our expression over here, and let's go ahead and solve this. So we will have 9x squared. Let's replace this 6x with our two factors. So we'll have a minus 6x plus 12x minus 8, like that. And now let's kind of imagine drawing a line halfway down the center and isolate these two groups and factorize them individually. Let's start with this first group over here. If I take out a factor of 3 and x, I get inside my bracket 3x minus 2. That's the first one done. Let's have a look at the second one. The greatest I can factorize out is a plus 4. And inside my bracket, I will have 3x minus 2. And again, this is good because we can see we have this repeating group over here. In that way, I can factor that out, 3x minus 2, and whatever's remaining will become its own bracket. So this 3x and plus 4 will go into its own bracket. 3x plus 4. And that is non-monic trinomials factorized. I hope this lesson gave you a boost in factorizing quadratics, and if it did, give us a wave in the comments down below. This is Alex from Mizo Education signing off for now. See you all in the next one. Stay sharp.